This is Musie's YouTube podcast, recorded on the 29th of August, 2014. Today we're going to talk about Ferguson. Because I can't fit this into a 10-minute video. Nope. We're going to go on a tangent because Ferguson is messed up. First off, I want to say that I do have an opinion, even though I'm white. No, the police officers are really retarded. I shouldn't even say that word. Racist, but the word retarded should never be used, but you get the idea. They're not the smartest bunch in the world. And yet, we're seeing people who support the police officers despite not being in any way threatening during the whole investigation and problem. And I am no longer calling this a shooting, I am calling this an execution, due to the fact that there were 2 headshots given to the victim. And he was shot in the head. Now, I know very little of laws. I'm going to say that straight up. But there's one thing I do know, is that a cop cannot shoot to kill unless it is threatening on someone else's life. Now, that is very vague. If somebody has a knife and they're slashing at you, your life could be taken away at that point. You still shoot them. And no, I've still seen cops, deflect knives. I've seen people shoot others in the leg and try to disarm the gun. And I've seen cops find other alternatives to when they supposedly feel threatened. The thing is according to eyewitnesses, he had no weapon. The victim had no weapon whatsoever. He raised his hands basically above his head, or at least raised his hands up. I'm not sure if they're above his head, but he did raise his hands up and said, "I am not armed, quit shooting me," or "Why are you shooting me?" or "Please stop shooting me," or something along those lines. He was facing the cops when he was shot, grazed above his head, and then shot in the face, as well as along the rest of his body. There's about 6 gun wounds, if I'm not mistaken, 5 to 6 gun wounds on his body, and he was dead. No one knows why he necessarily was shot down. The police officer said he was threatened, which is a very vague statement. Especially when the kid had no weapon, though he's claiming he did, and that he was doing certain things to him. Though the victim had one other friend with him who claims completely otherwise. Based off of this information, I can go ahead and say that I completely disappointed in our police force and what is happening over there. I can't watch a single YouTube video of Ferguson without feeling cringy in my stomach. This is wrong. This is wrong. And the further I could say this, it could sound so neutral if I just kept saying, this is wrong, this is wrong, why is this happening? The police officers have been getting support for the execution of this victim, saying that it was a good killing and that, he deserved it. And it's apparently race is still a problem in this nation. I'm not sure how much it is affected otherwise in the world, but I know at least here in the U.S., it'd be nasty. And it's absolutely crazy to think that we still live in a world where guys get shot down just because they look thug. Or pants half down your butt, which, by the way, I don't understand the appeal of that. Of course, I also don't understand the appeal of really short shorts and long V-necks and really deep V-neck shirts. I still don't understand the whole point of that. I really don't understand what the whole point of those long V-neck shirts. I mean, yeah, it's to cool off with, but at the same time, I don't find it appealing. I personally don't. I don't find it very appealing either way, on a guy or a girl. But, moving on from that. Now, I'm a white girl. I'm a white, poverty-driven college student who goes to a campus nearby and has been studying in literature. What would I know about racism? What would I know about racists? Well, first off, I can tell you that some of my family are a bunch of racists. Luckily, nobody too direct, so it's not like my mom or dad or anything. But we have a family, or at least a couple family members, who are racist and homophobics. And it makes me sick to my stomach, because racists. Now, there's a few philosophical things that we could touch upon regarding Ferguson, as well as the race subject, the race card, and what that represents and what it means to demeanor and lower one race to another, and to call somebody out based on that race. I was once called a stupid white by an African-American 2-year-old. So whether you want to call that racist or not, I was called a stupid white before. Some would say, yes, that's racist. Some would say, no, that's just stereotype, or that's just pointing out a feature. And maybe it has to do with the past. Whites were never discriminated against. Like, maybe the Irish, and that's about it. Everyone else who's been white has pretty much never been, in fact, has never been discriminated in any way. So whether whether something is racist or not is based upon that race's history or not is what makes it racist. And that's something I really do want to talk about, but I feel like I need to get to touch upon Ferguson itself, because of a recent piece of information just got released today on Facebook. I saw it today, and I was like, this shouldn't make a damn difference. I didn't get the chance to read it, because it doesn't matter. Here's the thing. They recently released the victim's criminal record. Now, I didn't get the chance to look at the criminal record. Maybe that's faulty on my behalf as a podcaster/reporter, and maybe I'm jumping the gun and wanting to get this out, and I want to have my research done, but I've got homework to do too, so I'm trying to balance that in. So maybe I'm a bad reporter/podcaster on behalf of the fact that I have not looked at it. But I can say at least this. It doesn't freaking matter. Okay? Unless he was a terrorist, which he wasn't. Unless he had gone and murdered people and he got away with it, which he didn't. And even then, they were supposed to take you into custody. He, as far as I know, did not have any other form of threat at the moment. When a cop or anybody like that is handling a human being, they are handling it at the moment. Unless they are told by the FBI, the CIA, or any of higher power telling the National Guard and the police around the area to handle it in such a manner because he might be a threat to the city, state, or nation, then they are to handle it as a disabled system. They are to disable the person. Now, I don't mean death, I mean disable. So, shooting them in the leg, if they're running away, fine, shoot them in the leg. If they did something wrong and they shot him in the foot, shoot him in the foot. Here's the problem, though. This kid didn't do anything at that moment when approached by these cops. He didn't do anything. In fact, he raised his hands and said, "Stop shooting me, why am I being shot at? I'm unarmed." At that point, if he had done anything wrong, such as being on some sort of list of some kind, he should have been then handcuffed and taken away. Instead, he was executed. To which I say, that's bullshit. He had no weapon on him that we know of. And on top of that, we also know that he had, far as I can basically tell from what the quick skim through said, I believe he didn't have any kind of, like, FBI warning on him. Like, he didn't have any, like, he's dangerous from the FBI and CIA, we need to gun this man down, like, now, kind of thing. He wasn't. He didn't have anything like that. Now, whatever criminal records he had otherwise doesn't matter when you are facing anybody who is opposed a threat to you. Shooting to kill is the last thing you ever do on the job. You never shoot to kill. The thing is, the broad statement of "I felt threatened," and that's the problem with laws when you have things like "I felt threatened," because you can't systematically create some sort of law or bedded down idea of what that exactly means. You can't create some sort of number system for it. It's just "I felt threatened," And that's how people get away with being, racist or sexist or homophobic or anything like that, is that "I felt threatened." And that's such a vague thing to say, that "I felt threatened." Well, fuck, what did he do? He didn't have a weapon on him. He could have said some things to you, but with no proper physical action that was done on him. As far as I know, he did not throw any physical punches at the guy. And even if he did, you're not supposed to execute anybody. That is the last thing you do against this kid. It's a kid. He was in his teens, I believe, right? I believe he was in his teens, late teens or so. You don't execute. And even if he was in his lower 20s, you don't execute. Age makes no damn difference. Kid just further means that this was an yeah, he was going to go into college. So he was in his late teens, early 20s. He was thinking about going to college. And this happens. And I'm literally thinking to myself, trying to watch this, going, what the hell is wrong with people? what the hell? I haven't heard anything about the president saying anything. Now watch, I'll post this and something will come up. But, excuse me, I have not heard anything from the president. Now, what makes this so also more worse, what also makes this worse, there we go, that's the proper sentence I need. What also makes this worse is the fact that the police has been given war weaponry. So, tanks, AKs, flash bombs, and big plastic shields. Now, please, I believe the shields are actually police given, so I believe those, I think, are okay. I think so. There was a peaceful protest on behalf of the victim, and what happened afterwards was everyone was getting pepper sprayed and shot at with rubber bullets, as well as flash bombs, as well as other types of bombs being thrown at random houses. As well as those who were looting were barely taken care of. Instead, they were after the peaceful protesters. The peaceful protesters. That was who they were after. The looters, I assume, were handled at least in some orderly fashion. But that means you go after the looters. You don't have, regardless of whether the looters were taken care of or not, you don't go after the peaceful protesters. They had a right to peacefully protest, in which they did. And they were also getting shot at. And they were in two completely different areas of the street. I can understand if you're trying to bomb looters, which that's not a good idea anyways, but you're shooting at peaceful protesters. The police are supposed to act responsibly regardless of how the people act, you know. So if there was a crazy situation where all of Ferguson was nothing but looting and people were throwing Molotovs everywhere and causing mayhem, then you call the National Guard in and you implement a kind of basic war zone, basically. Except these people didn't. They were being pepper sprayed and tasered, from what I understand. Might have been a couple of taser situations. But they were being treated as sheep. And as such, they were being pretty much taken, they're basically blocked in. They cannot leave. As far as I know, they cannot leave still. They are still trapped in Ferguson. People who have come traveling into Ferguson are not allowed to leave Ferguson, to which everybody in Ferguson, you're in my thoughts and prayers, because fuck the police. And I understand now, actually I've understood for a little while now, why fuck the police exists. Because of people like this. But not all police officers. But not all police officers. And that's an interesting thing to say, you know, kind of like that statement of, oh, but not all men. Not all police officers. Not all gays. Whatever that's supposed to mean. But not all police officers. It's kind of an interesting statement. It kind of holds this responsibility of all police officers to do what they need to do in order to get the job done. And it kind of makes you want to take a baton, tie them to a pole, and beat their heads in and go, what the hell is wrong with you? You're not acting responsibly. You're not acting like a human being. You're acting like a fiend. Basically, a little fiend. I don't know what other word to use. I'm kind of afraid to state my opinion further because I feel like they might come at, whoever they is could come after me and put risk of me and whoever else I live with. No, good luck trying to find me. Second off, good luck trying to do anything to me. And good luck trying to do anything to me around my friends because they will kick your ass. But my point basically is this, is that we are stuck in this system where we take assumptions, stereotypes, and racial ideologies and racial understandings, apply them to everyone, and then we're suddenly afraid based on visuals rather than actual intention. So if a person who is African American walks around the hood, they're suddenly bad, even if they have no weapon, or even if they're just walking down the street to grab a soda. They're a threat. Why? What's threatening about them? They have a hood. Woo, what's the hood gonna do? Is it gonna be like Zoot from My Favorite Martian and come to life and choke me to death? That movie sucks, by the way. My Favorite Martian sucks. Sorry. It's cute for a kid's movie, but it just, what is wrong with you? But no, there's no threat to him. Until he makes an action, or until he says something, action is the key word here. As soon as he makes an action, he's walking down the street grabbing a goddamn soda. That's not a threat. Okay? especially when we make these assumptions that, this equals this. Another example would be you're gay, therefore you're not Christian, which is a weird one, because I've met Christian gays. They exist. Holy shit, they do. Or if you're transgender, you're confused, which is a very common one. You're transgender, you're confused. Or I don't identify as a gender either way. Me personally, like, I feel I'm like 80% feminine and like 10-20% male, because I have male tendencies. But that means I'm a tomboy. Okay, fine, but don't get mad at me if I don't like wearing dresses. Don't get mad at me if I don't wear skirts. I get people who get upset with me because I'm like, well, I feel I have actions of a feminine, ideal, but it's not like I have a male ideology. I don't know what it means to feel like a man or to feel like a woman. I just know that I look pretty or I look handsome. Same argument. But we make these assumptions. And then we become afraid. Assumptions are bad. 99.99% of the case, because you end up making a mistake. A horrible mistake. I have one friend who he's a mixture. He's half black, half white. I will not mention names. And he acts nothing of the stereotype. He's a bassist. He wants to be an animator. He doesn't say the typical stereotypical African American phrases. But even if he did, that does not give me the right to say that he is this, and this, just because he fits that assumption. The problem is, we have that. We have this assumption that this equals this. I have a friend of mine who thinks all Muslims are after America, and that Muslims are evil. And I just want to backhand her and just tell her, no, you fucking dick. That's not how the world works. Religions aren't after anybody. It's the people who are after somebody. Okay? It's like, Satanists aren't after Christians that I know of. I could be wrong on that. But, again, the religion of Satanism is not after anybody. In fact, Satanism is an interesting religion. I'm actually probably going to do some personal study on just to see what it's all about, because not that I want to change over to it. I'm just curious. That curiosity kind of sparks in my head. Off topic. Basically, what am I trying to get at? Is that the police in Ferguson are not acting responsibly. They are not acting like adults. They're acting like a bunch of 5-year-olds who were given a high-powered water gun, and the rest of Ferguson's public has been given paper clips. They've been given paper clips or Kodak cameras in comparison. So, everybody over in Ferguson, I'm praying for you. Stay strong. This is bullshit. Until new information comes out that's actually reliable, actually real reliable information, not whether he had a credit, like to his name involving criminal records. That doesn't mean anything unless he was on an FBI or CIA list, which he wasn't. That I believe so. Now watch, I'll post this and read into it and actually find that he was. That would change everything if he was on a CIA or FBI list and actually had evidence towards the fact that he had done something. To which I say, he probably didn't. So, no, a criminal record does not change anything in regards to how a crime is handled. You still do everything you can to disable first, unless they are higher powered. So, say they come into my home state and decide to take a tank and start blowing buildings up. Yeah, then you kind of call the National Guard. You still don't give police officers weapons, not without proper training, not unless they are able to fire a weapon with proper training, which they aren't given anyways. That's the only time that should ever happen. Some kid walking down the street, even if he had a pistol in his hand, that's not qualified for an execution. If he pointed a gun at you, you do everything you need to disable. Disarm. That's the word I was looking for. Disarm. You don't kill him. You disarm. And I'm very disappointed in the Ferguson Police Department for doing what they're doing. I do not rely on today's news, Fox News, ABC News, No, they're glorifying it. Not a single police officer has been sent to the hospital. Not a single 911 dispatcher has helped them in any way. If a person from Ferguson calls 911, they basically get laughed at and hung up. Not a single police officer has been injured that we know of. And multiple people have been hurt or have died, I believe. I'm not sure if anybody's died yet, but I know there's been at least people sent to the hospital. And they were laughed at and then accused for damaging their clothes. It's like, what the hell is wrong with you people? Seriously? This is how you treat people? You sick bastards. I'm a Christian and I'm saying this. I hope you burn in hell. Police department and all higher securities who are not doing their fucking job. Because they are human beings. They are the same thing as us, and you think you could just run around and start shooting up people. To peaceful protesters, by the by. You are supposed to be one up from everybody else. You are supposed to be above and beyond the morale system and law. It's not just law, it's morale too. There are some good cops out there, but they're hard to find, damn it, and it's really hard to find a damn good cop. I'll tell you what, though, unless something's changed and something hasn't come up quite yet, don't go to Ferguson, because you won't find it. I literally do not know what else to say in regards to the race card, other than the fact that I've never been discriminated for race, other than the one time with the 2-year-old who called me a stupid white. And I don't even know if that counts as race. I want to say it does, because you're pointing out a race trait and then demeaning it. Or because you're a horrible person because you are this color. You know, that's the only thing I've got. And it was from a 2-year-old, no less. So I felt weird when that happened. I was like, what? I was more confused. Like, what are you talking about? And I feel weird whenever somebody says that to any other race. Like, you're yellow or you're black. And it's like, excuse me? If someone says that to somebody else, they're like, you're yellow, you stupid. I'm like, what? First off, that's against the stereotype anyways, which I'm sorry. It's stupid either way. But it doesn't define anything. Your skin color does not define anything at all. It's still rude regardless. It's still nasty regardless. I'm actually hitting about ready to hit the half-hour mark. Huh, that never happens. But basically, yeah, Ferguson, you're in our prayers, because what is going on out there is not okay. And I hope that whatever comes out of this will be good. Whatever comes out of this will be lessons learned to America that people are people and that the cops need to act responsibly, and they have not. They have not handled the situation like they need to. They are being given weapons they have no training on, and they are treating people like they're not people when they have done nothing wrong. But I've given up on looking at not social media, that's where I'm getting all this information from. I've given up watching ABC News and Fox News a long time ago, because it was boring as hell, for starters, when I was a kid, but growing up, I'm learning they aren't sharing the full information. In fact, I've learned to not read my own newspaper, because I don't know if the information is true or not. I can't tell anymore. I can't tell what's true or not anymore. I can't tell what real scientific information is, because we've got this network that's so thick, I can't tell what's what. And it's risky coming out and saying these things, and it's risky giving my opinion. Not as risky as if I was black, though. If I was black, I'd be shot down in a heartbeat, and that's horrible, and it's pathetic for humans to think that that's okay, and it makes me sick into my stomach to think that if I was born a certain color, I could be treated differently, or because I have a different hindsight or mindsight that has nothing to do with doing anything wrong. It's just different, that I could be shot down, or that I could be killed just because of something that's different. And not that it's bad. It's not bad. Being black's not bad. Having a darker skin's not bad. Having a different lifestyle's not bad. They've done nothing wrong. It's not based on the actions that occurred or anything like that. It's based on other insignificant things. You know, I feel like when a person is represented in the court, I feel like they need to be behind blinds. Person A did this to person B. person A did this, then this, and person B said this. They hide their voices so that you can't tell feminine voice versus masculine voice. You hide their bodies so you can't see any discrimination involved. You hide their status, so police officer versus random person. And you basically create this kind of completely blind setup in the court system so that's just person A and person B, except we can't have that, can we? This is why we can't have nice things, because we can't have that. You know, we gotta know who they are, and it's like, no, they still did something wrong, regardless of who they are. They still did something wrong. Or they still did something right, and they're being blamed otherwise for it. Now, I know there can be some problems with that, like DNA samples suggest this, and therefore people can find out who they are based on their DNA, or something like that. But, regardless, all you have to do is just not look it up. This is person A's fingerprints. A regular judge wouldn't be able to tell the difference of that. And then you make it illegal to put their name on it. Or victim, or this person's. Or just other than the fact that it's just person A, person B. Or C, or D, or E, or F, or etc. Because I don't want that bias. You know, I don't want that bias of something that I've been taught all my life that's a lie by mankind. Mankind has taught me some horrible things, and I'm still biased at that at times. You know, I still create that unfortunate bias that I want to get rid of. But because of what I've been taught, it won't go away. And I hate that for myself because there are certain things that I do have that bias against, and it's not fair, it's not right. And I want rid of it. Which is why I want people to start looking at person A, person B. Person A made these moves on person B retaliated, person A pulled out a gun, person B disarmed it, and put them in a safe hold until help came. Would it matter if it was a boy or a girl on either side? And if it does make a difference whether they were a boy or a girl, then you have some problems. Unless that made a direct impact on the case itself. Like, well, person A said some racial slurs to person B. That can make a big difference in the case, because that could be represented as a hate crime. Or some person A said some sexist things to another person B. That can make a difference in the case because of how they reacted. But to assume that it's just because person A was a girl or person B was a guy doesn't mean anything. They both did something wrong, irresponsible, or one did something irresponsible, or one did something good. And in Ferguson, we're seeing that it's all about control. It's not about justice anymore. It's all about power. It's all about teaching our police officers how to act like a goddamn police officer, and how to know when your rights are being impaired, how to know when everything that you did was okay and proper. You have the right to know why you're being put under arrest. You have a right to record police officers. Yes, I do enforce the idea of being watched by cameras. I worked retail. I get watched all the time. I'm a school student. NSA's watching us all the time anyways. Stop your bitching. Stop your bitching, because they're watching us anyways. I absolutely believe that if we have to put a camera on the bad kid who's not behaving in the classroom, then damn it, put a camera on the teacher to make sure that they're doing the right thing anyways, even if they're not doing anything wrong. If I became a police officer, I expect security on my end to have a camera attached to me. Not only does it protect me and I act accordingly, but it protects the people who I'm trying to protect. So if something does happen, not only does it protect me, it protects everybody else too. That's what you're supposed to be doing, is protecting. You're not protecting. You're endangering. You're hurting. You're not disabling. You're putting fear into people. You're not spreading what a police officer is supposed to represent, what we're taught when we're in first grade. You're enticing fear and showing that this is what it means to have power. This is what it means when a police officer has a weapon. I think that being a police officer needs to be taken more seriously, and I do seriously think that being someone of so much power needs to be given so much more discipline than I could ever receive. That's why I can never be a police officer, because I knew I don't have that kind of discipline. I would never have that kind of discipline. I'd break first. And I understand a lot of it is paperwork. I know that a lot of it's paperwork. We've been hearing that a lot lately, that it's all about the paperwork. At that point, we need to come up with a new system. There's a lot of discriminations that police officers have, especially against the mentally handicapped lately. It's been about those, especially those on the autism and Down syndrome spectrums, are scared as fuck right now of police officers because of the discriminations and the unknowing information. I think if you're a police officer, you need to have a superior intellect as well as physical prowess in order to be a police officer. We don't see that. We see people who just want a paying job, do nothing but cause problems with people. Very rarely do I see a good cop. And I see them every once in a while on YouTube. Very good cops. I see them. I really do see them. But when you've got things going on in Ferguson, it kind of covers up the good people. And I think if you would have changed the pronouns, you could apply this argument to anything. From sexism to homophobia to mental stability, you know. As soon as you change the pronouns to, instead of police officers, not all police officers, you could say not all guys, not all girls, not all autism, not all Down syndrome, not all gays, not all straights, not all lesbians, not all bis, etc., etc., etc. That argument spreads throughout all those topics. And I think it's about time we started to evaluate what it is exactly that we are trying to do as law enforcement. What are we trying to do as those who wear a badge and have a gun holstered to the hip? You know, does it actually mean something anymore? Seeing Ferguson just makes me believe I am now officially not wanting to live in America, and I am scared now. Because this shit happens. Nobody is treated as a human being anymore. Everyone's treated like they're sheep. And I'm sick of it. I am sick of it. But hey, I'm just a white female college student who lives in Ohio. I don't have an opinion. Nope. I don't have a right to an opinion because I'm white. I've never been discriminated against. At least race-wise. Okay. That apparently means I am not and that apparently means I'm not human, and that apparently means I don't have a right. I have every right because they are people. We are all fucking people. Let's start treating everyone like people. Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you later.